Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing to you the 6th Challenger Pack in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which contains Min Min from ARMS as a playable character, as well as plenty of ARMS fan service. Now, I actually just did a review on ARMS a couple of days ago, so I'm pretty familiar with the source material, and I'm going to do my best to try not to let my meh feelings of the overall game influence this review. So for starters, ARMS games are notorious for having the fighters with extendable arms and sometimes hair in the case of Twin Tail, and those arms can be swapped out. In this game, Min Min's right arm can be swapped out between 3 variants, and you control the left arm with the A button and the right arm with the B button, which allows for special smash attacks and regular smash attacks, which is pretty cool. The first variant is called the Ram Ram, which is kind of like a disc, and it's the quickest of all the arms, and it's especially good at changing direction in midair. Definitely if you're the faster style of player, you're going to want the Rim Ram. Second is the Mega Watch, which looks like a giant yellow sphere with lots of electrical charge nodes sticking out of it. This is the slow but powerful variant if you prefer the heavyweight type fighting style. And finally is the Dragon, which is what Min Min's left arm is always going to be. And the Dragon has the longest range, and sometimes it even strikes twice with its fire breath. It's not as fast as the Ram Ram, but it has longer range, and strategically switching between these arms only takes a couple of seconds, doesn't involve a convoluted menu like Heroes does, and it's pretty easy to tell their functionality just from a glance. It was actually fun for me to switch them out, and I actually tried my best to incorporate it into my fighting strategy. Overall, Min Min is best suited for long-range battles, and she's not too great with opponents that are really quick, because her arms take quite a bit of wind-up, and so as a result, they can be easily telegraphed and blocked. However, that's not to say Min Min doesn't have quick options. I was really surprised by how Sakurai's advice on, stay far away from your opponents if you want to be good with Min Min wasn't always true. I was able to do quite a few fights where I got up close and personal with her dash attack, her foot flurry, and especially her upper somersault move, which was useful for hitting opponents above me, especially if I was fighting on a battlefield stage. And I think overall, of the characters that have unique fighting skills, Min Min probably requires the least learning curve to get used to her new mechanics, assuming that you're used to characters that have swappable movesets. Her stage is called Spring Stadium, which is based on the arena where you fight Springman in the original game. It's basically a summer arena and really evokes that if we weren't in a pandemic, this would be the summer hype kind of feel, because the audience is cheering for you, the various ARMS fighters are on the billboard in the background, and there are platforms that turn green that basically turn you into a human cannonball when you press the jump button while standing on them, which leads to Sonic the Hedgehog level of combos with pretty much any fighter. Sometimes these platforms can even appear on the sides of the stage to save you if you're falling off, although the frequency of which I wasn't able to confirm for myself. There's also 2 very narrow poles on the ceiling that can sometimes prevent you from falling all the way off the stage, but since they're so narrow, I wouldn't exactly count on it. The music selection is really great as well. You've got 18 tracks from ARMS. There's not really any other game in the ARMS series, so it's all from the first one, 2 of which are remixes, but they don't really need to be remixed all that much because, for starters, ARMS in itself is already a fighting game, so a fighting game within a fighting game. Not too much needs to be changed there, but also because I listened to all 18 songs in the soundtrack, and I gotta say, a lot of them are basically just variations of the same music, but with different instruments. So the variety seems a little bit on the lame side, but I wouldn't say that's the fault of Sakurai and his team, because technically, this is almost the entirety of the ARMS soundtrack all inside Smash Bros., which is one of the best quantities that a single game has ever seen in the Smash Bros. Series. The music sounds good, even though, like I said with the Persona music, it seems to get worse as it goes along the list. I wonder if that was a purposeful decision. My personal favorite is the new remix of the ARMS Grand Prix, as I always loved the whoa chorus, and to hear it in even higher quality than it was just 2 years ago, that was pretty darn awesome. Now, as far as classic mode, I'm deliberately saving the spirits for last because that's the most complicated part of this pack. For her classic mode route, she ends up fighting against characters that primarily use arms. Now, initially I predicted that this would either be based on the ARMS Grand Prix, where you'd fight off characters based on the ARMS fighters, or that it would be fighters that primarily use punches. But it turns out that a couple of shockers, such as Samus and Mega Man, who have arm cannons, were also capable. All of the battles are using the ARMS music, and the final boss is surprisingly not Master Hand and Crazy Hand, because they don't have arms. It's against Gallium, who is one of the bosses in Subspace Emissary in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I did not see that coming, and I am very glad for it. You never see it coming. Dang, how many times am I gonna reference Persona when I still haven't even played one of their games? Finally, we can talk about Spirit Mode. First, I forgot to mention Min Min's final smash, which is Arms Rush, which is basically another cinematic final smash. We haven't had anything but cinematics for all of the Fighter Pass characters. Basically, all of the ARMS fighters show up and shoot their arms at the same time before Min Min finishes off with the dragon breathing fire on the opponent. It's visually appealing, even if I wish that the animation was a little bit more on the other ARMS fighters. Still doesn't beat out Banjo and Kazooie's, but it's pretty darn close. Now, you may be wondering, well, Paul, Min Min was already a spirit before the DLC came out. How was that handled? Well, you actually get 2 separate spirits of Min Min herself. The first is the one that you get in the base game for fighting her spirit battle, which is against Corrin in Newport City with Dragon Driftway, which, now that I've actually played as Min Min, it's actually really darn accurate to the source material. It doesn't change Corrin into Min Min. You still have to fight female Corrin, and it's still the same music. It hasn't changed to any ARMS music. But then you get into the spirit board, and this is where things get really complicated, because characters that already have spirit battles are going to be displayed as clear if you've already beaten them, and spirits that initially only had spirits but not spirit battles will now have battles, but you won't get a brand new spirit. Now, as far as Min Min's spirit, she gets a separate fighter spirit for completing her classic mode route. So you've got Min Min and Min Min Fighter. It's not a new concept for Smash Bros. We have Wedding Mario, Building Mario, Regular Mario, lots of variations of that. I just think it's a little bit awkward that they didn't have the foresight to maybe wait to release a Min Min Spirit Battle, but maybe they figured if no one buys the DLC, we should at least give them something, because, you know, ARMS was published by Nintendo, this is a Nintendo fighter, let's not make people feel left out. I don't know what their thinking was. It was just very weird when I went into my spirits list and was like, where is Ninjala? I could have sworn I just fought him. But it turns out I already had Ninjala's spirit, it's just that they hadn't made a battle for him. Which is strange. I would have thought Greninja would have made a perfect candidate. I don't know. The amount of foresight here is very confusing. Overall, I really like playing as Min Min a lot, even if I don't think she'll beat out Link or Banjo and Kazooie as my mains, simply because she's a little bit slow and doesn't have a universally good against all opponents type of feel to her. However, I think she's a worthy addition to the Smash lineup, especially because ARMS had a lot of potential when it first came out, and I think this might do a good job of invigorating the flame, especially as Nintendo just a couple of months ago released a free trial of ARMS, and that was a nice little foreshadowing there. I'm also really glad that they chose Min Min out of all the fighters because they wanted to please the director. And honestly, I feel like her design is super cute and nice, And it shows that Springman and Ribbon Girl aren't the only characters that ARMS fans care about. The music selection is pretty great. The stage is well designed and a lot of fun to play. And if you're playing this in the summertime, hopefully in a year in the future where there's not a pandemic going on, this will do a great job of having that hot days type of celebration vibe. So with that, since this pack came out in 2020, within 24 hours of this video as a matter of fact, I'm going to give this a nice 18 out of 20. I'm only docking points because the music was a little bit repetitive, and I don't think I'll use Min Min in every single situation, but I definitely think they handled the ARMS mechanics as best as they could, considering that they had to adapt a game with 2 arms into a game where fighters usually only have 1 primary weapon. So I think it's worth a download if you don't already have the Fighter's Pass. As far as whether or not you're gonna buy Fighter's Pass Volume 2, I think you should probably wait a bit because there's still 5 more to go. And if there's another stupid controversy like what they did with Byleth, you guys might end up whining. So with that, thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments, concerns, critiques, questions, etc., please let me know in the comment section. And until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and Min Min shows that arms over brains actually can be a good combination. Bye-bye.